Hey, this is Twice Crispy, and you're watching Twice Crispy! In this video, we're going to address the problem of tunneling and how to get yourself out of a tunneling situation. Tunneling can really suck, especially if it happens early in the game, so I've got 5 tips for y'all on how to avoid being tunneled. Tip 1. Practice becoming a better runner. Make a plan for where you're going to run once you get unhooked. Make sure you're not running into an open area or dead zone. Running into a jungle gym or a safe pallet loop is way better and can buy a ton of time in a chase. You might still go down, but the killer's going to think about how long they chased you for and if it's worth it to keep chasing you again. If the killer insists on chasing you, we've got other tips on how to deal with that. Just because the killer won't leave you alone doesn't mean it's game over for you. Knowing how to loop tiles efficiently is going to help you waste tons of the killer's time and hopefully allow you to escape the chase. Making sure you're able to fast vault and safely get the pallets is going to play a huge role in your success. Since killers typically run 15% faster than survivors, it's super important to hug tiles as tightly as possible. This goes for solid walls like buildings or jungle gyms, but also trash tiles, which can be much more difficult to loop. Keep in mind that the killer's collision box is a lot wider than the survivors, so looping trash tiles can be super effective if you learn to do it right. It's equally as important to know when to leave the loop. Try to avoid throwing the pallet the first time you go by if possible. Once the pallet's broken, the loop becomes a lot less safe. A lot of killers will respect the pallet the first few times you pass it, but that's not always the case. Try throwing the first pallet and see if the killer backs off as you throw it so they don't get hit with it, or if they just let you stun them. That should be a good indicator of how the killer is going to play around other pallets, so the longer you can keep the pallet up in the loop, the longer you should be able to safely use it. Be patient when looping and use mind games to your advantage. The harsh reality is there's a ton of players who get tunneled simply because they don't look behind them when they run, and they don't ever double back or play mind games. This makes it really easy to predict where the survivor is going to go next, and for the killer to cut them off before they can get to the next safe loop. Waiting at corners of gyms until they see the red stain is a great way to avoid going down. You can do the same type of things at pallets and windows too. Killers will try to bully you into looping tiles inefficiently, so make sure that if you're going to mind game with the killer that you've got a backup plan for when the loop's no longer safe. Tip number 2. Run second chance perks. Use perks like Dead Hard, Off the Record, Borrowed Time, Unbreakable, Renewal, or Decisive Strike. All these perks are going to give you another opportunity to escape the killer by either using endurance, recovering a health state, or stunning the killer. Keep in mind that there are situational perks and you might not be able to get value from them every game, but if you feel like you've been getting tunneled in back-to-back games, then it might be a good idea to give one of these perks a shot in your next loadout. Bring anti-tunnel perks for you and your team. It can really suck to be tunneled out of the game at 4 or 5 gens, so when you see that happening to a teammate, try and help them out. Taking hits for them is a great way to stop tunneling and take aggro, or at least allow them to get some extra distance. Some of the perks that can help you and your team out are Won't Make It, Boon, Exponential, and Guardian. Alright, you're probably getting tired of hearing me talk about all these different perk combos to run because you might only have the base game characters unlocked. Don't forget to buy perks from the weekly shrine. Using shards to grab perks from the shrine lets you beef up your loadouts without actually having to own the DLC characters. Tip number 3. Picking the right cosmetics. There's a few ways to look at the way cosmetics play an impact in the game, so let's explore some of that. Some people will say that cosmetics don't do anything to change the way the game is played, but then there are ones that know that cosmetics can make or break it. Using neon cosmetics can definitely get you noticed from across the map, but also might be an indicator of a skilled player. Even in the pre-game lobby, the killer is looking at everything about the team they're going up against to see where the weak point might be. If there are 3 base kit Claudettes and 1 neon cosmetic Yui, a killer is probably going to think about going after the base kit survivors first. Reason is that there's the mentality that base kit survivors are less experienced, even if they have prestige level that says otherwise. It's a really weird manipulative trick to use, but it could be a sign to the killer that you're not someone to mess with. On the other hand, some killers want the challenge of going after the troublesome survivors, so this could go the opposite way of what we're planning here. Keep that in mind if you're going to pick a neon cosmetic for your game. Like we were saying just a second ago, base kit survivors seem to have the highest chance of getting tunneled out of the game. It's pretty common for killers to associate base kit cosmetics with some degree of inexperience. If you feel like you're being tunneled in a lot of your games or running base kit clothes, consider taking that stuff off right now. Tip 4. Items and add-ons. There are certain items with add-ons that can really help improve your chances of survival in a tunneling situation. Try bringing a brown med kit with a styptic or an anti-hem. The reason I'm suggesting a brown kit is because you consume it when you use those two add-ons. If you'd like to have some more healing potential from your kit, toss in a gel dressing or a gauze roll. Aside from healing, you can bring a flashlight to blind the killer to help make your escape easier. Beamer saves are cool and all, but sometimes you just need to play a little bit selfish with it. A yellow or green beamer is going to do just fine in this case, but it might be helpful to bring some blindness duration add-ons, like the focus lens, halogen bulb, or broken bulb. A great trick to losing the killer is to blind them as they're breaking a pallet, stand off to the side for a second, then walk past them. When they're not blind anymore, there's a good chance you can confuse them for a second because they won't immediately see scratch marks in front of them. Just be careful because some killers know about this trick and they'll swing while they're blind, so that's why I suggest standing off to the side. Also, the timing for double blind here is pretty easy and can be even more frustrating for the killer. Blind them right as they start to break the pallet, wait about 2 seconds, then blind them again right after the pallet finishes breaking. Sabo kits with speed add-ons can help you get out of a sticky situation if you know you're going to go down and you can't do anything about it. This one can be pretty difficult to pull off, but you're essentially going to Sabo your own hook before you go down. This is something you'd probably do towards the end of a game when most of the pallets in the area are already down. You'll start by running towards the corner of the map with as much distance between you and the killer as possible. Sabo the hook closest to the corner and keep running to the very corner of the map. Comp corner! What this is going to do is give you the best chance at wiggling since you'll be at the absolute corner of the map and the closest hook won't be available for the killer to use. This works even better in situations where someone died on the hook next to the one in the corner, or you brought a perk like boil over or flip flop. Again, this one's pretty tricky to pull off, but if you're going to die anyways, it might be worth giving it a shot. Okay, that brings us to tip number 5. When all else fails, lead the killer to a teammate. Yeah, this seems like a bit of a dick move, so I'm reserving this for special situations where you might be injured and on death hook and no one else has any hook states. Something like that. If your team isn't there to take hits for you or body block, then I think this one's fair use. Keep track of where your teammates are on the map while you're hanging out on the hook. I mean, what else are you gonna do? The crows aren't too much to look at. Don't be the one who leads the killer to someone just to get them eliminated from the game. Try to lead them to someone with the least amount of hook states. Hopefully your team will get the picture and take a hit for you. If not, let's just cross our fingers that the killer goes for them instead. If you see someone that's being tunneled and they lead the killer to you and you're not on death hook, remember it's okay for you to go down so they can stay in the game. Whoa, but Crispy, you said we're trying to win games here. Okay, yeah, you're right. We are trying to win games. But look at a situation where your team only has one gen gun and you have a team on death hook who's being tunneled. It's going to be a lot more beneficial to keep them in the game for as long as possible. So if you need to go down so the other person can leave the chase and heal up, that's what you're going to have to do. Sorry. I hope these tips are helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.